No.
Yeah. Dali lang.
Welcome to the Design Atelier live stream number 3. This is our weekly stream where we talk about watch design and interact with you guys. If you have a watch that you want us to analyze live, just comment on the chat box. And if we have enough material, then, well, we can illustrate it. Thank you so much to everybody who's in the stream at the moment. Thank you to Thomas Burnett, Six Killers here, EPRFA, the Watch Lounge Chris. Thanks for supporting the stream. Blue Shirt Buddha, Junior Johnson, Ken Spears from Pittsburgh. Everyone, thank you so much for being in the stream. Peter C. also. So, what are you guys wearing tonight? It's our customary wristwatch check. For me, I'm wearing my custom G-Shock that I've been like putting off to modify for quite a while now. Let me show that just a little bit. There we are. Now the custom parts there are made from robots from the land where of the rising sun in Japan. If you could recognize that some Gundam parts out there, some Gundam hobbyists out there might recognize some of these parts. Something quirky, something unique at the very least. Bruce is wearing his bluesy, still in the Rolex bluesy honeymoon phase there. And we have a Hulk there with EPRFA. Paul M, welcome. What we see here. Yes, welcome to everybody who's in the chat. Now, the big news, of course, this week is Omega and its new Speedmaster. We don't want to talk about too much about Omega, and I know it's saturated all over the internet at the moment. Every news media is already reporting about it, but we did have some information and some details that we missed in our video. I was really trying to scramble and release that video as soon as I could. And during that time, I missed a few of the details. And when we saw monochrome watches, Houdinki, and even ID Guy mentioning some of these information, we would want to talk about it in our live stream just for a moment. And after that, we're going to talk about the coaxial escapement and why it's such a special thing. And that's something also that I just learned this week while I was doing my research. So without further ado, let's go back to our table cam. So here, the first thing that we actually missed is that the Speedmaster, if you compare that to the older Speedmaster, the outgoing non-chronometer professional moonwatch, it's almost 7 millimeters, 0.7 millimeters thinner than the outgoing moonwatch. And this is something that's a welcome treat. If you go and actually wear and try out the moonwatch, if you own one and if you've tried one on your AD, you would notice that it's really quite wearable already. But being 13.7 millimeters, it's a lot more wearable. And here we could also notice that the pushers are actually quite not significantly, but quite different. If we see here, there's a considerable amount of pusher from the older moon watch. But now, if you look closely, it's a little bit more recessed. That's something that I failed uh, to notice, but in monochrome they actually pointed this out, and there's actually it's not really going to affect much of the functionality of the watch because you could still push these pushers, but it is now considerably shorter. Notice the gap between here from the old Moonwatch compared to the Moonwatch that we have right now. It's considerably shorter. Notice too that let's clear that out for a moment. Notice too that the crown is a little bit thicker or wider than the previous crown. And this is something that is also another um, slight modification. It makes it easier to turn the crown a little bit compared to the older moon watches. I have heard and I've read some complaints about that, but now it seems that Omega has addressed this. And it's something that also we want to mention that Omega in general has been uh, considering the comments and the feedback from its enthusiasts, and releasing the Speedmaster on a Tuesday, on a Speedy Tuesday, is also a testament to that. And it's just nice to see that the Omega is trying to follow through with all of this feedback that is coming. And of course, I mean, it's been since 1997. And it's like 22 years since we had the last refresh of the Moonwatch, and they have accumulated enough feedback from that. The tachymeter font, you could also notice, is that in the outgoing Speedmaster, the tachymeter and the scale font is a little thicker. If we compare that to the newer one, it's a lot crisper and thinner if you look closely. And this is something that many fans may also be in the fence with, because uh, why would you change the font style of the Speedmaster? After all, it is something that has been a signature of the Speedmaster. But to me, as on a design standpoint, it's much better. It's much cleaner and it's um, much more elegant looking rather than being more robust. But after all, it's a tool watch. It's something that it's really up to the preference of the buyer. We also have a difference in the seconds hand. In the seconds hand, the triangle, the arrow or the triangle or the diamond that we have in the new Moonwatch is a lot bigger. It's almost 50% bigger than the previous version. That's also something that we have to note. And not only that, the shaft of the second hand of the previous older model is thicker than the one that we have right now. It is also another thing that I really like, and seeing these in the flesh would be something to behold. I think it's a little minute change, but I welcome that. It also is harmonizes itself with all of the other thin lines that we see all across the design of the dial. Another thing that we could notice is this is actually very significant that we didn't point out. If we look at the older Speedmaster, this is the lug shape. But actually, in your perception, this is not the case. You actually perceive it like this, because that end link in the middle, you could actually, your eye actually includes that and makes the Moonwatch a lot bigger than it's supposed to be. And also that something that most people are complaining, because when on a smaller wrist, this piece here would actually protrude out of your wrist. Now that has been eliminated by the new Speedmaster. If you look at the new center link, it's actually it's not just the center link. If you look at it closely, the facet itself is slightly recessed, slightly pushed inwards than the previous one. And this is something that would make it a lot more wearable than the outgoing model. Well, not outgoing because it's still available online, and of course you can buy it almost anywhere because it's really that much available. And those are the things that we want to point out. There are probably a few more smaller details that we would have failed to notice. I've read in monochrome watches that the finishing on the sides of the case is also very different and slightly not narrower, but we have to see that in the flesh for us to understand or to us to see in comparison to the old moon watch. Now, if we look at it at the wrist, and as already pointed out in many of the reviews, the Hesalite version uh, has a brushed interlink compared to the polished interlink of the Sapphire version. And this would play with the light very nicely if a person is into that. And you could see in these two shots that the play of light from those polished interlinks is quite beautiful. And I'm leaning towards the sapphire crystal here compared to the Hesalite. I know that Hesalite is the legendary, the OG configuration of the Speedmaster, but I'm really into the sapphire and also that applied logo, very beautiful. It's also diamond polished. It's not just mirror polish. It's diamond polished according to some reports. I think that's coming from Hodinki. Okay, so let's move on to our chat before we move to our next subject. Dane, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for being here. Engineer Wannabe, thank you also for hopping in. Nefarian is also here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, okay. You guys chatted quite a bit. All right. Ken Spears is wearing his Omega Seamaster Aquaterra. Peter C is wearing the El Primero today. And Casio Edifice at night. Well, we must change our watches every now and then. Actually, let's do that for my end. I have, of course, my Speedmaster Mark II here on the side, and I'm going to wear that in honor of Peter C. So now there's two of us that has worn two watches today. Let's go back to the chat. Talking some game there. I found an old Moonwatch according to EPRFA. A little difficult to wind actually to get a good grip of the crown. Yes, that has been a common complaint, and I hope that the new Speedmaster is a lot better, especially that now that it's a lot wider and the crown is a lot better. It's a little bit more protruding, I guess. Yes, Dane is a little late. Just finished dinner. Dane, you have a stream in a few minutes. Thanks for hopping in anyway. I don't know if you're going to stay for the next few topics, and I'm happy you're here. If you see some trolls, let me know. I'll make you into an admin and kill some trolls. Hello, catch your stream later since it's in a junkie. All right. NG is wearing his Tudor Royal. You know, Bobby Legs was streaming the other. I think that was like last week, or you were in that stream too. He was calling Tudor Royale. I was also doing that in the first few times that I actually pronounced that during my recording of the script, but you know that they should have changed that to Tudor Royale. It's a little bit more. It's a little bit more elegant. It's a little bit more satisfying to mention. If it's Tudor Royal, it's lacking that oomph, you know. Bobby Lex is also here. Thank you so much for hopping in. And let's go on with the next topic of our stream. This is probably the last topic that we're going to discuss, unless you have any watches or anything that we want us to discuss online live. Just let me know. Okay, so since the Moonwatch release this week, I've never really had the time to really examine what the Moonwatch is, what the Speedmaster is, and I've refreshed here and there the history of the Moonwatch, the Speedmaster. I recently have did a video about the Ed White, which I think is my favorite Speedmaster. I think that's the one that I really like, the Ed White, rather than the Moonwatch that went to the moon. I'm kind of leaning to the old vintage lugs of those Ed Whites, the CK2998. I really love that, but I still have to learn a little bit more about the Speedmaster and Omega in general. And when I was trying to do some research, and I stumbled upon the coaxial escapement. What does the coaxial escapement have to offer that other escapements don't have? Well, it turns out that the coaxial escapement is sort of an evolution of the lever escapement that you see here. This is the lever escapement that you're seeing at the moment. This has been the conventional escapement of watches as you know them today. The way it works, just for us to understand and for me to put briefly, is that it, with an oscillating mass, that oscillating mass is connected to this turning wheel, right? That oscillating mass has a sort of a ticker that would activate or would move this fork back and forth, up and down, or left or right, or whatever position your watch is in, right? Now, as it does that, the the movement now is being either stopped or moved because of that oscillating mechanism. Now, this movement is creating friction to all of your of all of our escapements, and that's the point for of the escapement, is for it to escape some of the force that's wound in the watch. Now, as it does that, this point here creates friction. This point here. And this is where your watch is normally lubricated, it seems. So when you service your watch, this point of the escapement is lubricated quite generously by the watchmaker. The problem with that is that in time, because of the millions of times that your watch beats, this gets grinded to a certain degree, that because of friction. And the more it grinds, the more metal gets shaved off, and then the watch becomes less and less accurate, because sometimes it would slip, and in a catastrophic scenario, it would not connect with the pallet fork anymore. So that's how the lever escapement works. And this is something that George Daniel, that yes, maybe you might have heard of him before, the great George Daniel, tried to alleviate using the coaxial movement. So, escapement. So he devised this escapement to ensure that all of the force that's coming, let me put that back, because I forgot to mention about that force. Because all of the force that is coming in through the wine, all of that force is being transferred into these points only. And that's, or rather these points, right? And that's something that George Daniel saw as a flaw in the escapement, in the lever escapement. So what he did is to alleviate that force. And to do that, he made the coaxial movement. I still don't know why it's called coaxial. I still need to freshen up on that. But basically, that's what these contraptions are for. So now the oscillating mechanism, as it's hooked here, will move this part of the fork. But now, instead of a direct contact to the uh, escapement wheel, it's now connected uh, to two gears, or to a gear that has like two teeth, and these teeth will then either stop or release the escapement. So instead of it pushing with force the escapement, it's now just letting itself open, while the other wheel would pass through. And since we now have one, two, 3 points of rather here 3 points of contact, all of that force is now dispersed, and now also the escapement wheel is free, and not in direct contact with any of the pallet forks, and under full wind. And this has been something that Omega has been using since 1992, if I'm not mistaken, and has been keen to like introducing into uh, many of their watches. And because of this, also they can maintain the accuracy that they can meta certified such watches. It's something that's very interesting for us to watch. You can see also in YouTube how many different examples of the coaxial escapement has been shown, and it's quite interesting to see. And those are the two topics that we really wanted to talk about tonight. It's interesting. There's a lot more to understand about Omega, and I have now a better appreciation of how Omega maintains its prestige, so to speak, as a watch company, and they are trying to push forward technology as much as they can while honoring the legacy of their timepieces. Now, let's go back to the chat. Let's see what you guys have been talking about. Somebody's 6 killers talking about quarter pounder cheese. Yes, you're making me hungry now. And Peter C agrees with Royale. Bobby Legs also. It's a little bit more classy. Yes, I like that. It really does. Royale sounds a lot classier. I hope that we mention it enough so that it becomes a bit more known as a nickname, which is kind of weird. For a nickname, you're supposed to like shorten the name, but now you're making it longer, but pronouncing it better though, arguably. Right? Um, yes, Celine Driver is going to start up at around 8 p.m. He probably already started. I don't know if he's still on the stream. Watch Medicine, hey man, yes, Watch Medicine is here. What's up, Dane? 6 killer. So, do you have anything that you want to discuss tonight, and we can go through some of the watches that we can analyze. If you have anything, just put it on the chat. And yes, according to Engineer Wannabe, the coaxial movement is really really cool. There is a video online of an AD that's actually showing a magnified version of the escapement. It's really quite interesting to note. And the thing about that is, not only is it but because of the less friction that the escapement is suffering from, you would also understand that you need to service the watch less than what most watches would require you to do. And because of that, it's it's actually more cost effective to you compared to other watches in the market today. And that is something that all is always welcome. Remember, our Oris tried to compete with this by lengthening their warranty. I know Sanjay is here, engineer wannabe. He has like one full series of videos chronicling what happened to him and his Oris new Oris 400. 400 was it, right? And you could go to his channel to see his total experience about it. But that service interval is very important to many of us, and that's something that we want to consider when we're buying our watches. And with the Omega's coaxial movements and Meta's certification, that actually is giving us a lot more value for the watch that we're buying. Let's go back to the chat, and some people are suggesting um, things to talk about. And watch medicine, was it? Yes, discuss the new Speedmaster release. We actually did discuss that in a separate video. We did discuss some of the things that we missed in our earlier portion of our video, of our stream. Thomas Burnett, Jason, do you think that the coaxial movement is better than Rolex movement? Okay, now Rolex movement, if I'm not mistaken, is they have this some sort of anti-shock mechanism on their movements. That actually has something to do more with the oscillating uh, the oscillating mass, and actually that actually can help, but I need to do some more research on why it is actually needed and why it's an actual improvement compared to the previous Rolex escapements that they already have. I understand that they have the parachrome material that they're using for the hairspring, and they have this anti-shock mechanism. But quite honestly, I have to see why it's a little bit more, because you can imagine that that anti-shock mechanism that also causes friction in time. So I don't know how that's better than the coaxial movement or coaxial escapement. The coaxial escapement, you could really see in practice how there's less contact on the pallet forks and that escapement wheel. And less contact is always better. And that you need less lubrication on that. Thanks, Jason, for this breakdown. Thank you so much, Six Killer. Thanks for appreciating that. Have you personally handled a 3-to-1 and the new 3861, or know anyone who has? Well, I was actually in the AD like the other day, and I was able to handle a meteorite um, bi-compacts version of the Speedmaster, but that doesn't have neither the 3-to-1, neither the 3861. And honestly, if I'm able to handle that, I'll be like really privileged. I love to do that. But the ones that I have handled in the AD, you could actually notice the difference between the, because this one, the one that I have, this has the 1861 in it, if I'm not mistaken. And when you turn the crown to wind it, you could really feel it's like really buttery smooth, but at the same time it has like overarching clicks. It's not a like swift click, but it's like a smooth clicking motion. Now the ones that we have now, the modern movements that we have from Omega is a lot smoother than the one that I have at the moment. Maybe it's because that mine needs some servicing. Maybe in time we could do that. And it still works quite fine, and it still keeps time quite accurately. But the ones that we have with the master chronometer as movements from Omega is a lot better to handle. And of course, you could see the case on the display case back, the beautiful movement. And that's actually what I'm contemplating too, to buy like a clear display case for my Speedmaster so that I could see the movement. But then, what is there to see, right? It's not as polished as an 1863, which is really the one that you want to display rather than the 1861. But that's also like quite nice to see in person if you can afford that. Okay, Nefarian. By the way, I watched your Ed White video. I was quite impressed with the video and the watch that you did a great job. Thank you so much, Nefarian, for that compliment. I really try to pour as much effort in our videos. There are a few discrepancies, especially in the last video. A viewer pointed out in the comment that I said that it's 42 millimeters, or yes, it is true. That's what we have in Omega's website. Also, it's 42 millimeters. But remember, Omega measures it on the case, not on the case, and not on the tachymeter. The tachymeter is indeed still 39.7 millimeters, but the case, not including the crown, is 42 millimeters. If you include the crown, then it's right around 44 millimeters. So, but I guess my graphics there was not good enough because I did stop right at the crown tip. I should have like add that graphics only on the case. So next time I'll try to improve on that. Okay, engineer wannabe. Hopefully you keep warm up there. Okay, right. Thanks. Um, Sanjay asks, "What are you going to pick up next, Jason?" Right now, I have no plans on picking up any watches. I do have one that's coming in. That's already in the works, and I guess that's a hint. It's in the works. So hopefully when it comes up, I can show you guys when it gets here. It's going to take maybe 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe more, depending on how long it would take. But that's something that's very special. It's not expensive, but it's very special for me and the channel. And hopefully you guys would enjoy that. I don't want to spoil it yet, and maybe some of you already have seen it. I have posted in the I'm blanking out in the well in one of the groups that we were in, but in public I'm going to show that soon once it hits. Okay, engineer wannabe. Also, watch medicine was about okay 14 from northern Toronto today, so I'll try to stay warm. Yeah, that's freezing there, Sanjay. That's freezing there. What's your favorite Speedmaster limited edition and non-limited edition of all time? Okay. There's quite a bit of Speedmasters that are limited edition. I'm not in the. I know I made a Snoopy video and I quite like that case back, but you know that I think that the 45-year anniversary Snoopy was the one that I really liked. The white dial with all of those really nice hints at the 14 seconds, and the Snoopy on the 9 o'clock. That's the one that I actually quite like. That's actually one of my favorite limited editions, if you ask just the limited editions. I also like the gold versions, but I'm not really as interested compared to that 45-year anniversary Snoopy. That was the one that I really like. Because the way they designed the dial and the way they made the very nice references to the Apollo 13 mission was quite nice. And also the back of that watch is actually hand engraved. So no two versions is the same. If I'm not mistaken, the medallion behind that is hand engraved. And that's something that I really truly appreciate. When you see something that is handmade and you truly fathom the magnitude of work that goes into it, you see the value there. No matter we're not even talking about monetary value there. It's just the effort and artistry because you have to maintain a certain uniformity that you already did with the previous models that you've handled. But at the same time, because you're human, there's unique strokes to all of these carvings. That's also what makes Alanga and Suna special. The engravings on their swan neck regulators and all and their movements, you could actually go to their workshop, to their atelier, and ask who made that, because they could identify whose hand strokes made those engravings, and that's quite amazing. And that's where the value of the artistry comes from. And that's why also why many of these watches are like in the thousands, or you could buy two houses in some of them for some of their value, which is quite astronomical. But you could understand in that way. Of course, there will be like other artists out there that would really be would charge less, but that's also far in between. I bought a watch today, according to Nefarian. A cheap one, a Vario Empire. I think Salmon Dial. Looking forward to getting that one. Yeah, that Vario also. I think I contacted Vario, if I'm not mistaken. I was hoping for them to like come back at me, but I didn't answer. They didn't answer back. We're too small fry for them. Sorry. Yes, Engineer Wannabe. He's been wearing his spring drive, and he appreciates it a little bit more. Yes, that is true. I also have the same kind of appreciation. The more I wear my Speedmaster, it's old, yes, but the more that I compare it to other watches that I have, it also builds your appreciation. Do you prefer the Seamaster or Speedmaster of the Omega family? Watch Medicine says, I prefer the Seamaster. I prefer the Seamaster. I don't have one, but I have handled quite a few. And I think I'm now realizing I'm a dive watch guy. I like fiddling with the bezel. I think that's more that that's weird, but that's more valuable to me than a chronograph. But if you give me a Speedmaster, I'm not gonna complain. I already have one, but I prefer to fidget with the. It's an adult fidget spinner. Honestly, yeah, that's what it is. A dive bezel is an adult fidget spinner. And yeah, of course, we can like make excuses that we could actually use that to time and to boil eggs and whatnot. But that's what I want. I think I'm starting to see that I'm a really a dive watch enthusiast. So I prefer the Seamaster. I'm going to get one day. One day. Thomas Burnett, favorite Speedmaster, CK2998 Blue Dial, the 57 Trilogy FOIS. Yes, the CK, the Blue Dial. I've never seen a Blue Dial CK2998. Let me see that. Let's try and look at that. Oh, the smell of pizza here. My wife just cooked homemade pizza. Really, really smells good. CK2998. Blue Dial. Oh, wow. Yes. That looks good. That looks nice. Well, it doesn't look blue there on our screen, but but trust me, it's blue. That looks really nice. Really nice. I like that. There we are. Oh, and it's also using the sword hands, broad sword hands. Oh, I love the lollipop there. That lollipop is really nice, and it has an applied logo. Let's try and examine that. Okay, so we have the CK 2998. What do I love about it? Well, I still have the Snoopy, the 45-year anniversaries. That's still my favorite. But this one is not bad. Look at this. That lollipop hands. Very tasty. I like that. Maybe that's because of my preference with Rolex. But was it Rolex that originated with lollipop hands? I don't know. But that looks nice. I love that. Plus, it has like that lollipop, also counterweight. Love it. The applied logo. That is something that's very nice to see, especially when you have everything that's matte finished or textured dial, and then you see an applied logo. It's always a beauty to watch. Always a beauty to watch. And also, quite interestingly, the all of the other sub-dial hands are also sword or diamond shape, which is quite nice, quite neat. Oh, it also has the dot over 90, the 70 diagonal to the dot diagonal to 70. Oh, okay. So this is really harkening back to the CK2998s of old, straight lugs and all that. No crown guards. Yeah, it's really nice. To me, I'm still in the fence with blue and white combination. I know it's something also that's quite interesting and attractive to many people. I could see that, but it's not for me. I would prefer white with brown. That's what I would like more than white and blue. Tropical dial, I guess. That's the one that I'm leaning on as my preference or my taste. But very nice. Thanks for um, suggesting that in the chat. Okay. Yeah, and the trilogy, also the 57 trilogy, that's also quite nice. I have handled one, I think the Railmaster, and it's quite nice on my small wrist. I have a 6.25 inch wrist, so that would like really be nice on small wrists and very comfortable, very comfortable. Chris from Watch Lounge, the new Snoopy selling for almost over twice on secondhand market is crazy. Yeah, I've seen that before. And I asked here if they have a waiting list. They don't have. They don't even. They're not even going to get it here. They put an order and they didn't get any response back from Omega. Normally they would say how much of these will be allotted to the Caribbean. Actually, to give you some sort of idea how uh, Omega or ADs work here in Aruba, it's not really just Aruba, the island that we have to deal with. We have to communicate with the Caribbean circle altogether. Actually, Aruba is a small island nation by itself, but we're considered part of the ABC Islands: Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, and of course the other islands in the Caribbean. But those are the three main islands that's really close to us. Just 15 minutes of flight from any of the three islands, so it's really close to each other. And when it comes to Omega ADs here, when you put an order, they have to put an order as a region. And they have to look out and like some sort of bidding process to ensure that they get what the allotted models and pieces that are going to the Caribbean. So, for example, the Omega Seamaster Professional 300 that I asked the last time, they had to put in an order of at least one, and they have to catch when Omega's going to deliver at least like 3 or 4 for the whole Caribbean. So they have to at least catch at least one of those slots for Aruba to get that. Otherwise, they're not gonna get it. So it's a little bit more complicated or a little bit more harder to get it here in Aruba compared to other ADs from other countries. So if I really want one, I need to actually like fly to Florida, which is the closest to us, or Texas, and get one there. That I would have a better chance of getting that in Florida and Texas rather than here in Aruba. which is a shame. You would say that we're in a paradise island, but nevertheless, it's hard to get these watches here. And watch collecting is something also that's not so. I think there's only a handful of people that actually collect watches here. Engineer wannabe is saying, I've been learning about the remontoirs lately. Yes, remontoir. Spring drives, escapement does what a remontoir does. Would you consider it a low cost alternative to a remontoir? Obviously, not, but actually, a remontoir. I need to do my research there before I actually answer that. I don't want to like speak out of my butt here, but if you're talking about a spring drive being an alternative to remontoir, actually spring drives are still relatively affordable. I think the cheapest spring drive that you can get is from Seiko itself, Seiko proper, not Grand Seiko, and I think you can get one of their divers for around 4 grand or 3 grand, which is quite cheap. Not cheap, but quite affordable compared to other watches that we known and we've been looking at. You know, so it could be an alternative if you consider it in that perspective. Six Killer, have you done a video on Bulova Accutron? Well, actually, I did. I made the new Accutron, but not the old one. The old one, Dane has one. I don't know if Dane's still here. I guess he's gone, but he also has a video about the old Accutron. I made a video of the new Accutron, and I think I made two of that. Even a viewer sent in like their video, and I reviewed his video, which is quite a collaboration, which is very nice. I would love to do that once again, but I have, yes, the new Bulova Accutron. Bulova. Dane says Bulova, not Bulova. Bulova. Okay. RFA, okay, he's talking to Thomas Burnett, the 45 Snoopy, Mission to Mars, those are his favorite. Jace on many people say the Seamaster 300M, the best diver under 5. Yes, yes, the Seamaster 300M is the best diver under 5K. And actually, you can still get one in the used market for even cheaper. Not so cheap like 3,000 or but you get the point. You have all of the ceramic materials that's available to many uh, dive watches, but you also have that beautiful dial. I love that dial. The dial of the new Seamaster is really the one that's endearing to me. I love that really crisp etching of those waves. And mind you, that's also a dual textured. The surface texture is glossy, but underneath it is matte finished. And when you see that in certain lights, it's quite beautiful. I love it. I know it's a dive watch. I mean, why would you make a dive watch shiny? That's why Blancpain has some really nice matte textured dials because you want it to be functional. But I'm not diving with it. But it's something that's really attractive to me. And if you look at the case back, come on, seeing that those waves, those Geneva waves on those Seamasters, it's quite a sight to behold. It's stunning. It's really I wholeheartedly agree. It's the best diver under 5K. The Alaska project is also an excellent choice. They call it the Tintin. Okay, now I like that too. The with the aluminum. Was it aluminum? Outer case, and it's using magnets to push the pushers when you use that. I love that, and also the white strap, very nice. The Alaska project, I like that. If Aaron, that's really nice. Wow, I'll take the Alaska project also. That's a good one. Alaska project, Alaska project. Love the Tintin. Yes. Okay. The Tintin. I know. I remember now. It has the red checkered periphery. That's nice. Okay. Nefarian is also in the camp of that gigantic shroud thing. I would wear it. I can wear that if I wanted to. If I have that, I've been wearing a paddy scallop, and I think it's just slightly bigger than that. Just slightly bigger than that. So if I could wear that, I could even wear the paddy scallop with a suit. But of course, it looks ridiculous. But ah, that's what I do. Probably better in person. Yes. Six Killer saying, if I don't know. Okay, let me see who else has a random Rob was here. Hmm. Hey, Rob. Thanks for chiming in. If you're still here, actually prefer the non-wave plane wave Omega Seamaster. Yeah, I can understand that. That's some people's preference, but I love those waves. But don't try and convince me about those James Bond swirls. I don't like that. I don't like that. I like the wave. Oh, Nefarian is the Plo Prof. That's also quite chunky. I've never seen one in person, but I do hear that you could like beat a person and you can murder a person with it. Uh, I could actually. My son is like laughing there when he heard me that. I could actually see that. Okay, Random Rob is still here working on some founder stuff that may be on go live. Nice. Thanks. Yeah, Random Rob is here, so please subscribe to his channel if you haven't to. You must be not one of those watch fans if you haven't subscribed to Random Rob's channel. He's already over 40,000 subscribers, but he's one of the hardest work, if not the hardest working watch guys out there. 10 videos per day. Random Rob. He's the king of uploads every day. Every day. The Breitling Super Ocean white dial on the wrist, still the honeymoon phase. Yes, of course. I've seen that. You know, I like also how the bezel is matte finished. You mentioned in the live stream also, and I love that when it contrasts with those um, embossed numerals on the bezel. Very lovely, very lovely. The underrated one is the Blue Aquaterra Seamaster. Yes, well, I have to look that up. I'm not sure what that is. Rob's the legend. Yes, he is the legend. He's the legend. The OG. The OG. And actually, that's the thing. I mean, I'm into live streaming. I'm into YouTube now, mainly because of Celine Driver, Random Rob, um, Bruce Williams. Although I don't follow Bruce Williams as much anymore. I guess I have too many watch videos to watch. But Bruce Williams is also one of the big ones. As much as many people are influenced by TGV, I didn't like TGV as much. I like how he does his research, how he dives into history, but the way he talks about the watches, the way he talks about the watch industry, maybe that's not my taste. There's nothing wrong with him. It's just not my taste. I prefer the random Rob style of like spontaneous, non-scripted. You're not scripted, right, Rob? You're not scripted. Scripted. Well, most of the time not. But I like that. I like that. Dane is also not scripted. Very nice. And when Dane like starts killing trolls, that's like the highlight of the random Rob stream. I love that. EPRFA, love the Breitling Super Ocean 57 rainbow dial. I like the regular 57s, but not the rainbow. I'm not so keen with so many colors. You know, I also know why it's quite popular to many, but I prefer my colors in check. I don't want so many colors in my watches. I prefer I want the blue one though. I've seen the blue one here in person too, and it's quite nice. The bracelet of the Super Ocean is also quite underrated. Celine Driver, quite semi-scripted. I write down stats, of course. Yeah, we have to write down the stats. That's something that we always forget. The stats. Yes, yes. Okay. He Six Killer likes TGB. Right. We I can understand that, of course. See that. Write down a few notes. I actually have a few notes too. Well, when I went through the design breakdown, I had some notes with those two subjects that we mentioned earlier. I had some notes for that. Nefarian, the closest I come to reviewing a watch is complaining about it in the comments. Well, you could start there. If you want to review stuff, YouTube is mostly about reaction. And one of my best commented and most supported videos was the of course the black tip, the crimson black tip. And so many people remarked when I unboxed it and I opened it up, my reaction to that was, they say it's golden. To me, that's just the normal reaction that I would get, especially when I'm excited about a watch. And here's an insider scoop: I didn't know which black tip I'm going to get from Elshan, and I was quite surprised because I really want that crimson black tip. And I don't know, maybe Elshan's psychic, but that thing is such a beauty to behold. I think I wore it for 2 straight weeks. It's really quite nice. And that reaction that I had, actually, I cut it off. I said, "Oh, I got the red one." That's my complete reaction to it. That was my complete reaction to it. I cut off the red one because I felt that like that's not necessary to include in there. And plus, my script would kick in at that point. The Blue Dial Super Ocean 57, my second favorite. That's what EPRFA is saying. Yes. Kids bedtime, gotta run. Thanks for supporting the live stream, Sanjay. Hope to catch you again next time. Also, thank you so much for supporting the stream. Jump on to Celine Driver's stream. He will be streaming up right after this. We have to like time or schedule these streams between us, Celine and Chris. I don't know if Chris is still here. We don't want to like stream at the same time. Well, at least I don't. I try to I'm trying also to find the most stable schedule for this weekly stream. But nonetheless, thank you so much for all 18 of you who hanged in there and hanged in there with me stuttering and trying to collect my thoughts. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. And next week we will have another stream. Hopefully, some other day that's more convenient for everyone. So if you have any suggestions, just let me know. Yeah, and we, like Random Rod said there, we try not to overlap. I know Mondays is off limits. And quite honestly, I prefer my Mondays to work on my videos anyway. Celine Driver is always on. Okay, let me plug that in. Random Rob is Mondays almost all the time 9 o'clock, sometimes 8. Mondays 8 for Random Rob. Celine Driver is Wednesday 1 o'clock. So don't forget that. Celine Driver is very interesting with all of these rants. That's one of the highlights of my Wednesdays. I love that. And if you like sports analogies and all that, you can go to Celine Driver also. Watch Lounge, Chris, you have to turn on your notification for Watch Lounge because he just streams whatever time he has. So make sure that you have the notification bell ticked for Watch Lounge to catch his streams. And he has some interesting guests all the time. Don't miss that. Bobby Legs is also here. He's also coming up in he's probably online already, so you can catch him in his regular Friday 9 o'clock stream. So thank you so much once again to everyone, and have a pleasant night.